Hey, readers and listeners, welcome back to HCTV. I'm Tuan Tran.
I'm Sophia G.
I'm Catherine Armitage.
I am Dustin Schumann.
I am also Dustin Schumann.
I'm Shania Patrick.
And this is HCTV.
On this show, we talk about updates from Holy Cross and Student Council, have laughs, discussions, and we'll continue our story.
We hope you enjoy this episode.
This is HCTV.
Raiders, we do hope you enjoy this episode just as much as we enjoy making it, or maybe even a little bit more.
Just a little bit, though.
Just a little bit. Don't get too generous, guys. But we got some news going on. So the deadline to sign up for summer school is May the 31st. That is coming up, guys. If that's like that's like now. So doing. It says here, doing a course through the summer is the perfect way to gain another credit and get ahead. So doing a course through the summer is good. Mm-hmm. So go Raiders, doing that, everything that you guys are doing. Yeah. So getting it doing.
Also, some of us might need some English lessons. So sign up for summer school while you can, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do so very much.
Yeah. Also, this week's photo challenge is due May 31st. Send in a photo of you with your favorite childhood item, like a toy, blanket, or stuffed animal.
Stuffed animal, toy, blanket, stuffed animal, blanket,
or a
toy, stuffed animal.
Possibly a blanket.
Maybe a blanket. Yeah, probably a blanket.
Toy?
Yeah. Raiders, good luck with your final courses and keep pushing through. That is some great news, guys. We are on to the last module. That is exciting. I gotta say, guys, this school year has gone by very, very quickly, I must say. And I want to add one more thing before we wrap it up. I thought this was pretty interesting. I'm not going to share the whole thing because, we don't have the time for that. But I will say there's an article on the goodnewsnetwork.org, so you guys can look it up on your own time. Paul McCartney himself is helping people grow their own fruits and vegetables in the UK for the better health and well-being of the people. Right?
Wow.
And he's doing that with Linda McCartney. And they found that like 6 out of 10 people are, since the pandemic, have gotten to this hobby of growing fruits, vegetables, and stuff like that. So you guys can read this article yourselves on your way. It's on the Good News Network, and it's actually quite interesting. So take a read, check it out, and leave in the comments what you guys think of it, because it's pretty cool. Who doesn't love Paul McCartney?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this time there's different peoples, and then people have like different struggles and stuff like that. So offering people food and stuff like that's always help. Like I know I read this story up in London, like Western students, they have this fridge or like a cabinet space where they put it out in the open, and they you can put as many things as you want in there, like food items, and then you can take as many as you want as you need for people that are struggling in this pandemic to find money and stuff like that. So these acts of kindness, they really go a long way, and they're really awesome to hear on the news that in this time of difficulty and struggling, there are still people that want to help.
Yes. Agreed. I don't think I'm going to debate that today, Tuan. I actually agree with the statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sadly.
Alrighty, guys. So we're moving on to our discussion piece now. So today we're going to talk about something that's more on the serious side. So in our lives, right, we make tons of decisions here in and here out.
That is correct.
That is correct. We do make a lot of decisions. Thank you, Dustin, for clarifying that.
Yep.
Just gonna put that out there. What is life, Tuan? What is life?
It's
just a bunch of decisions. That's all it is. Yeah.
Anyways, but at the end of the day, does our end result of our decisions always justify our means? What do you guys think?
I don't know. That's interesting.
Hey, Gio
put his hand up. So let's go with him first, because that's.
Let's look at Thanos from. Wait. Okay.
Are we gonna think about him too, or are we just gonna look at him?
We're just gonna look at him.
We're just gonna look. Okay, that's fair.
Okay. I think. Okay, so. For example, somebody who wants to do something good. Actually, he's a bad example because he did bad things and his goal was bad. Let's just not. Okay.
Forget about Thanos.
Let's okay.
We
Okay.
looked at him, and now we are not looking at him. All right.
We are no longer looking at Thanos.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So let's take. I feel that it really depends on how bad your means are, because if you have good means and a good result, then that's just good overall. If you have questionable means and a good result, it's still probably a good thing.
I'm sorry. I thought he said good meat at one point. Catherine's shaking her head at me. I think she despises me at this point.
Yeah.
Like, shame on you. Catherine, I have plants, so I think that makes it okay.
How does that make it okay?
I don't
It
know. Why
doesn't.
not?
He's got good means.
I got good meat.
Well, if you have a good...
I got good means. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
does anybody else want to speak? I'm kind of out of ideas.
Okay, I'll go.
Wait. Can you say the question again, Twan? Let's just pretend to start over.
Okay, so yeah, in our daily lives we make a lot of decisions.
We do.
Right?
Indeed.
But at the end of the day, does our end result of our decisions always justify the means?
Can you
Okay.
expand
No.
on that?
Can
I'll
I
go.
expand on that?
No.
I'll go.
I get
I'll
a
expand on
definition,
that.
please.
Shania's saying she's gonna go.
Okay.
Let her
I'll
speak.
All
give
right.
it.
All you.
Okay, so for people who took like the Anthropopsych social course, or I think it was like grade 12 open religion, we talked about morality and ethics and like how they're two different things. And so like morality is like what you like, your personal morals, and then ethics is what's
Society.
believed by society and like it's held by groups.
Right.
And like this idea of like the end justifies the means, it's like the Machiavellian principle or whatever. That's the affirmation that the end does justify the means. And it's very it's a very like utilitarian perspective, because a lot of like it's what governments and politics, they believe like the end, like no matter what they have to do to get there, it gets justified. But like that's not always the case when you look at it, because like things like war and that's pretty much the main one. Things like war, like you can argue that like the end is like peace in a country or justice or whatever, but in reality, like so many people are dying, like so many lives are lost, there's so much destruction and chaos, and like there are so many different things that are
Yeah.
affected by it. So
Think of the amount of contrast in war. You're fighting for peace, and you're doing that by absolute chaos. You know, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
obviously,
another thing that kind of we looked at in that course, the Anthropopsych social course, was in sociology, like human behavior and like studying humans, and there are so many things that you could do wrong in the process. Like there were so many bad experiments, like the Nazi human experiment, the Milgram experiment, the prison one, and it's like they're trying to research humans, they're trying to get insight into how humans behave, but like there were so many things that they did bad, and like they hurt so many people, and it was like
I have a good example for this, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
So in like I also wanted to mention, Sophia pointed out that Shania's giving these really intellectual answers, and I was just like, let's take a look at Thanos. But anyways, I was gonna say too, in the early 60s and 50s, a lot of experiments were going on with lobotomy, and it was a very popular surgery back then, like to cure mental illness, to cure all these things, and it was terrible, mind you. Like people were left without memories, they were left without proper brain function because they just cut it in half pretty much. And lobotomy is like when you take out someone's frontal lobe, just in case people didn't know. But anyways, so, and what they did was that allowed them to do so much research in terms of brain function and what each part of the brain does, because what they basically did is they just removed a bunch of different parts of it and see what would happen. And they were volunteering, the people who got their brains removed, of course, but it was insane that these were bad actions, and it was eventually legalized everywhere, but they led to good things. They led to, we now have so much of an understanding about how our brain works and how things happen with humans and their mentality and their personalities. And if we didn't do those bad actions, we wouldn't have that information, which doesn't make the actions right.
right. That's important.
So I still don't think, even though we got good things out of it, I don't think that justifies what happened.
I gotta say I agree with Gio's point, because I mean you can learn from your mistakes, and you can become a more knowledgeable person from that. But at the same time, if you're hurting people to climb up that ladder, that's where the question comes in, is like, is that, you know, like you have to find that center there, because it's like, if you're just hurting people to get to the top, that's not a way of doing things. Even if it's like an accidental thing, you know, like I'm not gonna use like war. We said that, but like let's
start a war.
I might.
We all go against Dustin.
Let's use like COVID-19 for an example. Like, I mean, even the government bodies now, there's so many people that are obviously dying from this disease, but by the end of it, we will look back at it, it'll be over. So I mean, how is the government dealing with it, right? It's about how they are dealing with it. I don't know how in depth I can go with this, but I don't know. Am I allowed to, like, I don't know. Does anyone want to expand on my point?
No.
We think you're good. I think you're good.
You guys are seeing what I'm saying though, or am I just?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Catherine, what do
picking
you
up
think?
what you're putting down.
Catherine, what do you think?
I think it's like a really complicated subject. I think it really depends on the context. And as long as the thing that you're hurting will either be made up in the end, or like their understanding of what you're trying to do, then I guess it's okay. But if like you're going and like hurting a bunch of things and then your outcome is good for like yourself, then
That's
I
just
wouldn't say-
selfish at that point.
You know what?
Yeah.
Good.
Intent. I agree with you, Catherine. Intent is an important factor, which is hard because it can be deceived from different perspectives too. So that's definitely another thing to look at. There's so many sides of this. It's like a math equation.
Right?
And those are complicated.
There's no right or wrong answer to these questions, and you know, everyone has their own opinions, and there's obviously there's different situations where, you know, it does justify, and there's situations that there doesn't, right? So so like Catherine said, it all depends on your like circumstance and your situation. But yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to this. So it's quite interesting, right? But
yeah, it's definitely a pretty deep question. I should have got a little bit more notice on this one. I could have thought about it a little bit more, but now I'm kind of on the spot.
Dustin
I'm like,
doesn't think though. It's
I don't.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I would probably wait it to last minute anyway. So.
Yeah.
any last comments, guys?
I
No.
like, honestly, I don't. I'm all for people and like the betterment of society as a whole without hurting others, right? So in terms of if the ends justifies the means, I mean, it's a difficult stance. Like Catherine said, it definitely does depend on the context itself. Because I can think of scenarios where I agree, and I can think of scenarios where I definitely disagree, right? So, you know, I mean, it's not just a one-way thing depending on if it is or if it isn't, right? It's that gray area that we have to discuss, and it's pretty hefty. I mean, if I had to say an answer, I should probably, I'm gonna say no, because, you know, I mean, think about it. Like for COVID-19, for example, if you're cutting shortcuts and more lives are being lost, even just 1 or 2 lives, that was someone's life. Like just that, like think about it, that one life has affected many other people because of that.
Like
that
their families, their friends, like
exactly, it could
It's chain
spiral.
reaction,
Yeah, it's a chain reaction, right? So even when we're thinking about it on the, like, because remember, for someone's like the government looking down on us and something, it looks like such a minuscule amount of detail, but when you're actually there and you're related to that one death, for example, that's a lot less. That's a huge issue, right? And it's something that's going to affect you while it's just numbers to them, right? So yeah. that's
something
my
interesting
stance.
I want to say too about Dustin's one life thing is, let's look at last year. George Floyd was one life, and that sparked a whole controversy, and that sparked the whole Black Lives Matters thing, which is really good. But I know it wasn't just him. Many other people also were killed by police brutality. But that was the one that really pushed it forward and really like allowed it to have the awareness that it deserved.
Right.
It was one death, but it was like one death that changed the world completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? In a way, it's I don't want to say that the action itself was good, because it wasn't. Obviously, I think we can all agree on that. But I think the result of the action, like as we're saying, I'm thinking of it from the question itself of the means. It did help progress our society into a better mindset of, okay, we need to learn from this, we need to adapt, we need to become better, more ethical people.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where it's the gray area of course that action was terrible. That is one life that affected so many. But if you can learn from it as a society, it does have benefits as well. And because you can't be looking at scenarios in all negatives, or else your thought process will just be negative. And then that just wouldn't be good. Fair point, right? So I think it's beneficial to be aware of both sides, to understand each side with an open mind, and take consideration of, is there a positive to this situation, right?
I think like that's kind of the whole point of literature in general, I guess, because like the Machiavellian principle, that's from literature, like it's from, I think it was like The Prince. And I think the thing is, like, there are so many, when you read books and stuff, there are so many real life applications, and there are so many like things that can be like taken from one context and then put into another context.
Agreed.
And so, like you guys were saying, like context is really important. It all depends on like how, because like the same person could, or like a different person could perceive the same situation differently. So it all depends on perspective. It all depends on like ethics and like how ethics came to be, like culture, society, things like that. And then like it just depends on the individual.
Ethics and morals are like completely societal, right? Like ethics nowadays are completely different from like even like 200 years ago, we'll say. A completely different
even
world.
like 50 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's that gradual change of what's good and how can you determine what's actually good and what's not. Like, you know, like nowadays, I don't know. I'm not going to use that example because I don't think I could say that. But the point is, like, you know, it's like nowadays we think of something that's ethically absolutely horrendous. You go back in time a little bit, that could be completely accepted and no one would have thought anything of it. So it's that human construct of an idea that's
we're evolving in terms of a society. We're like moving forward.
Agreed. Yeah. So
as time progresses, we learn what's right and wrong, and then we try to fix that. So like every generation, there's always issues and arising, but the next generation fixes those issues. But they also do have their like own set of issues,
new issues,
right? New issues. But I think every generation after the other one's always trying to improve what last generation, you know, did wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's always beneficial to learn from like past mistakes and past history, right? There's this quote that says, you know, if you don't learn from history, then you're bound to repeat it, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's important to learn from the history and then learn from people's mistakes as well to benefit, you know, as a whole society, to benefit, you know, the next generation and the next group of people, and you know, to change for the better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite different. It's so odd though how something can be completely morally acceptable to one person, and to another someone might just think it's absurd, right? Mm-hmm. It's such a weird, and it's a weird concept to think of. Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, and that gets into like, you know, like psychology, this and that. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm interested in that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
What a topic to like bring up today. Like it was a good topic. Like, and it's like rainy and we like reflected and like we spoke.
Thanks, Sophia. That was Thank you for explaining what had just occurred.
Yeah.
For the listeners, in case they didn't just.
Yeah, it's raining outside, so in case you didn't know.
Yes. So in case you guys aren't.
That time of filming this is very rainy outside. Disclaimer: the podcasts aren't live.
Yeah.
They should be. No.
No, we should
No.
not do a live
No.
one.
Maybe not.
Can't do
Anyway, the
it.
point is,
No,
it's
that wouldn't be a
raining,
good idea.
guys.
Wow.
Look at, you can see the swan. That's the swan.
Is that a live swan or is that just?
No, remember we're not live, Twan.
Oh, right. Sorry, my bad.
Remember, we're not live.
It's a recorded swan. Okay, I'm sorry. Also, my plants are hanging. That you should know.
Hello, listeners. We are now moving on to the story section of the podcast. As usual, you will hear a fictional story about a character that goes to HC.
Famous stories, characters, and lessons. Without further ado, here's Catherine Armitage.
Yoshi! Sorry. Take it away, Catherine.
Catherine,
All right.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So here's a recap. Taylor, Max, and Ava solved the second riddle of the 4-part riddle. They had to travel to the back of the football field where they found the third piece of the compass device, which pointed south. As soon as they sat down in the stairwell, the new box started beeping, which led them to defeat another ghost. The ghost dropped a key with the letter G on it. It's the next morning. Today I'm walking to school. All three of us did not plan to meet up until lunchtime, so I spent my time alone that morning thinking of what might come next. Up until when I arrived at class, I think that there might be something large in the stairwell we always sat in because of the G. Maybe we just hadn't noticed it. Lunch comes fairly quickly and we all meet up at the bench where Max and I had gotten the papers from one time. We were all extremely eager to see what the third riddle was, also known as R3. So I grabbed the riddles out of my backpack and the map. The riddle says, follow the riddle to the 2 bathrooms where the prize awaits you. I look at the map and sure enough, R3 was labeled on the main bathrooms, near the front of the school. We walked there and by the time I arrived, we all agreed we noticed at least twice that a strange figure looking like a ghost flew past us and we all saw it from the corner of our eyes. We split up when we arrived at the bathrooms. Max and I immediately spot a key lying in plain sight on the sink. It matched the one we had retrieved from the ghost earlier with a G. The reason no one had spotted it might be because it had been delivered from one of the figures that flew past us on the way here. We walk out of the bathroom and Ava is there waiting for us. She had an identical key and the same theory. Because we now have 3 G keys, we head to the stairwell with the large G on the map. When we arrive, we have to look around a bit, but then we find a large box in the corner. We test all 3 keys on the main key hole on this box, but none worked. Strange. But then Max sees 3 compartments on the side. They were all labeled with the letter G. We open each of them and 3 ghosts fly out. After about 5 minutes of back and forth dodging, we finally get rid of the 3 ghosts. They drop the 4th box. I take the other 3 from out of the bag, and almost like it was enforced with magic, they attach together to form one device. A slight glow began to shine too. All of a sudden, the southern arrow lights up. It looks like we would be heading there. All right, listeners, this is where our story segment today concludes. The lesson today is whenever you're stuck, try to think outside the box. Just like when Max found the 3 compartments when looking for a creative answer, it's always nice to use critical thinking to find the answers when it may not be what it seems.
Yeah, that goes back to
Everything is not what it seems.
our story, how we're supposed to adapt and change to our circumstances, and that's important to always think outside the box and think about new things. And if you're stuck, then ask for help or think of a new way to come up with something and
Hey, listeners, guys, do you guys want to help us out? Click that like button and subscribe if you do. We truly do appreciate that, and we love you guys dearly.
If you have any questions, things you would like us to talk about, or just to chat with us, leave them in the comment section below.
That is it for this week, Raiders and guests. Make sure to follow at the Angus Army on Instagram and at HC Student Council on TikTok for more information regarding events and news.
Stay tuned for more interviews, discussion, news stories, and more.
We hope you have a fantastic day.
as always, stay safe and stay kind. I'm Twan Tran.
I'm Sophia G.
I'm Kathleen Armitage.
I am Dustin Schumann.
I am also Dustin Schumann.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And Shania Patrick.
Shania Patrick.
Okay.
I said and.
And then, And this is HCTV. See you next time, listeners. No,
I'm Shania Patrick. And
I
then
said
say
and
it.
Shania Patrick.
Say it.
Oh, that's what I was talking.
You-
This is HCTV.